What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ash Talks Movies, and here's my review of In the Gray, which comes from writer-director Guy Ritchie, who seems to be in this weird place where his movies get released but ultimately buried. This one follows Rachel, a high-powered lawyer played by Eiza Gonzalez, who is tasked with retrieving unpaid debts from dangerous individuals for the shady corporations that loan them the money. To do this, she enlists the help of Bronco and Sid, played by Jake Gyllenhaal and Henry Cavill, who put together a team and a plan to recoup $1 billion from a criminal kingpin named Salazar, played by Carlos Bardem, who does what he can to avoid paying the money back. The team has to deploy tactics that put them in the gray, an area between legal and illegal. Before I jump into the review, if you'd like to support the channel, make sure you subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Also, join the discussion, jump into the comments, and share your thoughts about the movie.
Is Salazar's island. The police are on payroll, and he has a reasonably experienced private army. Tick every box,
tick every tuck,
lube every wheel,
lick every step.
3, 2, 1.
So I feel like in the last few years, Guy Ritchie has directed three types of movies. Either he has an action-adventure movie that's a little bit more family-friendly, or he'll have the crime drama that has the revenge plot, or he'll have a spy, espionage, heist type movie. And In the Gray definitely fits into that last category. This is an entertaining, stylish caper that feels like a mashup between Mission Impossible and Ocean's 11, although it doesn't rise to the levels of either of those two franchises. The plot here is a bit convoluted. There are a couple of times where the plotting veers into nonsensical territory, but thankfully the story is never hard to follow. Part of the reason that the story isn't confusing is because the movie has Rachel delivering voiceover to explain pretty much everything that's going on. And I honestly hate that tactic. I've mentioned this before in other reviews that I don't like when movies just rely solely on voiceover, especially when they use voiceover just to dump a bunch of exposition. Using that technique could have been incredibly annoying, but thankfully Ritchie also gets a little creative with how he deploys the exposition dumps. For example, he'll throw text on the screen, or he'll intercut scenes of characters explaining their plans with scenes of the plans in motion. So the story is always moving forward, even if you're getting a bunch of exposition. Now, Guy Ritchie is known for stylish movies that look great, and In the Gray is no exception. The characters, even if some of them are a little one note, look cool. The main characters, Rachel, Sid, and Bronco, are always dressed to impress. And I have to say, all the actors seem to be having fun. You have Eiza Gonzalez, who's playing Rachel, and she's really playing up Rachel's tough, no-nonsense attitude while also looking fabulous. And you have Jake Gyllenhaal and Henry Cavill playing Bronco and Sid with a self-assuredness of agents who have the skills to get the job done. And I also really enjoyed the playful interaction between Bronco and Sid. The movie does tease that there might be something more to their relationship, but the movie also keeps things deliberately vague. Just like so many of Guy Ritchie's recent movies, there hasn't been a ton of advertising for In the Gray. We've gotten a little bit of marketing, and the little marketing that we have gotten has really played up the action in this movie. So going into it, you would probably expect it to be action-packed, but it's not really as action-packed as you would probably expect. But I have to say, the action that is here is so much fun to watch. There are car chases, firefights, explosions, and a finale that I think really delivers the goods. Now, I already mentioned that the story relies too heavily on exposition, but there's another part of this movie that I thought was really weak, and that was the villain. Salazar is this criminal billionaire who has a private island with its own private army, and yet he doesn't seem like he would actually be a threat to the main characters, who seem to always have the upper hand. And Salazar's army never seems to be a match for Sid and Bronco's team. I think if Salazar had been more intimidating, the stakes would have felt higher and there would have been a lot more tension in this movie. The movie's ending also was a bit of a letdown, and I think that was just because it felt so abrupt. And I'm not talking about the finale with the action sequences. I'm talking about how this movie actually wrapped up. It felt like things were cut, and I felt that throughout parts of the movie, like things had been cut. And maybe that was because Guy Ritchie was trying to get things trimmed down to fit this 98-minute runtime, which I appreciated because the movie does breeze by, but it did feel disjointed because it felt like certain scenes and moments were missing. In the Gray is not Guy Ritchie's best, but it's still a solid movie, and I think it had an interesting premise, some gorgeous locations, and some really cool action. I actually had a lot of fun with this movie, and I think that was because I was willing to go along for the ride. It has a lot of flaws, but it also has a lot of Guy Ritchie's signature style and some of the elements that he's used in some of his better movies. So I think if you're in the market for a fun heist-like movie with some action, some cool set pieces, then you'll probably enjoy this one too. So those are my thoughts on In the Gray, which is out in theaters right now. Do you plan on seeing it? Jump into the comments and let me know. Also, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. So that does it for me, everyone. I'll see you next time. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.